Welcome to the Velvet Story, where fiction finds a heartbeat. Tonight, we begin a journey not just through pages, but beyond them. Meet Dr. Ira Yoon, a woman grounded in reality, who suddenly wakes in the silk-draped fantasy of her favorite novel. She was never meant to be the heroine, never meant to stay, but fate has other plans. This is The Wrong Pages Turned Right, Chapter 4 of a tale where reality ends and the heart begins. Let the story begin. Chapter 4, The Wrong Pages Turned Right. Ira sat in the palace library, rows of ancient books towering over her. The air was thick with dust, parchment, and memory. She flipped through a hand-stitched volume of herbal medicine, pretending to study. In truth, she was hiding, from questions, from emotions, from him. But K.L. Rivenhart had a gift for finding people who didn't want to be found. "There you are," came his voice from the archway, smooth as silk, loud as thunder in her chest. Ira didn't look up. "I'm busy, so is a storm before it breaks," he said, walking toward her. "Doesn't mean it's not beautiful." She sighed and closed the book. "K.L., you didn't dance with me," he said, leaning against the desk, too close again. "I don't usually get told no, you know. Maybe that's why you need to hear it." He smiled. "Maybe, but I don't want to play games with you." Her eyes met his, stunned into silence. "I see the way you look at Aaron," he added, more softly now. "Like he's the reason you're here. Like your happiness depends on someone else falling in love." "Because it does," she thought. "That's how I get home. I'm just trying to help the story go the way it's supposed to," she whispered. "But what if the story is wrong?" he asked. "What if fate was waiting for someone like you to shake the ending?" She looked away. "You are not supposed to fall for anyone. You give up on love. You walk away." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You sound like you read my life like a script." She froze. "I thought I was just background," he continued. "The cheerful idiot who makes people laugh and then disappears when it counts. But then you came in like a quiet storm, looking at everyone else, except me. And suddenly, I wanted to be seen." Why is he saying this? She thought. Why does it sound like he's breaking out of the pages just to reach me? "I can't love you," she said suddenly. "I didn't ask you to," K.L. replied gently. "But don't ask me not to." His eyes didn't plead, but they did wait. Then, footsteps. Aaron appeared at the far end of the hallway. He was calling Serafina's name, but paused when he saw Ira and K.L. standing so close. For just a second, his brows knit in quiet confusion. "The script is cracking." Ira turned and fled before either man could speak. Later that evening, alone in her room, Ira pressed her hand over her chest. "You are just a doctor. You are just here to help. You don't belong in this world." But then she thought of K.L.'s voice, low, earnest. But what if the story is wrong? And for the first time, she wasn't so sure it wasn't. Chapter 5, A World Not Meant for Her. Rain fell in soft sheets over the Rivenhart estate, turning the stone pathways into glassy mirrors. Ira hadn't planned on visiting K.L. again, but he had summoned her under the guise of a medical checkup, which, frankly, was the most creative excuse she'd heard from a billionaire CEO pretending not to be in love. The estate was quieter than usual. No servants, no guests, just him, waiting in the music room. "I thought you said you were sick," she said, glancing around. K.L. sat at the grand piano, fingers tracing idle patterns over ivory keys. "I am heartsick." Ira narrowed her eyes. "You called me here for a pun?" K.L. grinned. "Partly, but mostly because I had a feeling you'd run if I just asked you to talk." She exhaled. "K.L., you can't keep." He began playing, softly, a melody that curled around the silence and drew her in despite herself. "I don't know if I love you yet," he said quietly, not looking up, "but I know I miss you, even when you're in the same room." Her breath caught. "I don't get it," she whispered. "Why me? There's nothing extraordinary about me here. I'm not royal. I'm not the heroine. I'm not even supposed to be in this world." K.L. stopped playing and stood. "That's exactly why," he said. "Because you don't pretend. Because you're not looking for a crown, or a storybook ending. You look at people like they matter." "I look at people like I want them to be happy," she corrected. "Like Aaron and Serafina." K.L.'s gaze sharpened. "Then why does your voice tremble when you say his name, but steady when you say mine?" Ira froze. I've studied people my whole life, he added. And I've never once mistaken admiration for affection. I'm not staying, she blurted. When this story ends, I have to go back. I know. He stepped closer, just enough that the scent of pine and rain hit her senses. But you're here now, so let me have this moment. Let us have it. And just like that, he reached up and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, fingers barely brushing her skin, and yet it felt like the world slowed. You are not stealing someone else's story, he murmured. You are writing a new one. At the palace, that same evening, Aaron stood beside Serafina in the royal greenhouse, staring at the closed lilies blooming through magic. He should be focused on her. But his mind was elsewhere, on a woman with eyes like winter skies and a presence that lingered like a forgotten song. Why do I keep thinking of her? Serafina's voice drew him back. Is something wrong? No, he said softly. Nothing at all. But something was wrong. The script was shifting. People were changing. And somewhere deep inside, Aaron wondered if fate had already made its choice, long before the first page had turned. Chapter 6. The moment he saw her. Ira stood in the moonlit courtyard, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. She hadn't intended to stay this late at the palace, but the night had wrapped its arms around her like Kale's words still echoed in her chest. You're writing a new story. She couldn't stop thinking about it. Or him. She wasn't supposed to fall in love here. Not with Kale, the man who sacrificed everything in the novel and never got his own ending. But now, he was changing. And worse, so was she. Footsteps. She didn't need to turn to know it was him. I knew you'd be out here, Kale said, walking up beside her. No mask tonight. Only truth. Do you follow me often? She teased, but her voice wavered. Kale exhaled slowly. Only when I'm afraid you'll disappear. She looked at him. There was something fragile in his eyes tonight. Nothing like the teasing CEO mask he wore in front of others. This was the man behind the legend. I never told you, he said softly. When I first saw you. Ira furrowed her brows. It was at the ball. No, he shook his head, gaze distant. It was the morning before that. I was leaving the archives. You were in the garden, talking to a child with scraped knees. You didn't know anyone was watching. She blinked. That wasn't in the book. You kneeled beside him, Kale went on, and smiled like he was the only person in the world who mattered. You told him pain was just proof that we're still alive. And then you kissed his scraped knee like you were trying to undo the hurt. She felt her heart twist. I remember thinking, he said, voice hushed, that the world had rewritten itself without warning. That someone had stepped out of a dream and made reality look dull. Ira didn't speak. She couldn't. I wasn't supposed to fall for anyone, Kale murmured. But the moment I saw you, I realized, I don't want the fate I was given. I want the one where you stay. Ira looked at him now, truly looked, and saw the rawness in his expression. Kale, this world isn't real to me, she whispered. I can't, I shouldn't love you, but you do, he said, not as a question, not with arrogance, but with the soft devastation of a man hoping her silence means yes. Ira turned her head away, tears burning in her eyes. If I let myself love you, she said, how do I survive when the story ends? Kale's voice broke just slightly. By remembering that you were loved. Fully, even if only in a world written in ink and rain. Elsewhere, Serafina smiled at Aaron, but something in his gaze was unfocused. Are you with me? She asked gently. He blinked, then nodded. Of course, but his heart had started to whisper someone else's name. And somewhere, the threads of fate trembled. Chapter 7. A Kingdom of What-Ifs. The following morning, the sun broke through mist-draped towers, bathing the palace gardens in a glow that made the world look enchanted. Ira found herself summoned, not by a court physician, not by a patient, but by Prince Kale himself. The guards led her not to a throne room, but to a hidden part of the palace she hadn't seen before, a circular observatory high above the clouds, where the wind whispered secrets and the view stretched beyond the valley. Kale stood near the edge, hair tousled by the breeze, royal cloak fluttering behind him. He turned as she approached, his grin flashing like mischief bottled in a crown. You kidnapped me for this? She asked, arms crossed, but a smile tugged at her lips. I invited you, Kale corrected, stepping closer. With charm, and very expensive royal stationery. She rolled her eyes. What is this place? Kale's smile softened. My hiding spot. When I was young, I used to come here to escape my tutors. Later, to escape the court. Now, to escape expectations. Ira stepped beside him. The view was dizzying, mountains painted with snow, rivers glistening like silver veins across the land. This kingdom, it looks so different from up here, she whispered. Because it's not written from here, Kale said. It's lived from here. She turned to him. You are always making speeches. He shrugged. Perks of being a prince no one listens to. Ira paused. That's not true. Kale's eyes met hers, quieter now. It was. Until you. The wind hushed between them. I brought you here, he added, because I needed to show you what I see. Not the roles we're trapped in. Not Aaron and Seraphina's tale. Just this, you and me, outside the story. Her heart thudded. I'm not supposed to be part of this world, she murmured. Kale stepped closer, his voice barely a breath. Then be a part of mine. Ira looked at him, truly looked, and something cracked inside her. A longing she had no right to feel, no script to justify. Kale, before she could finish, he reached out and gently took her hand, warm, steady. Even if the ending takes you away, he whispered, let me be your reason to hesitate. Elsewhere in the palace, in a corridor bathed in golden light, Aaron stood beside Seraphina, watching her laugh with court ladies. But his gaze drifted, again, to the empty hallway where Ira had just passed. Something about her unsettled him. She was not a threat, not even trying to be, but her presence shifted something. In him, in Seraphina, in the story itself, he did not understand it. But part of him didn't want to. Chapter 8, torn between pages. Ira couldn't breathe. It had been a few days since her last encounter with Kale in the observatory. But the memory of his words, his touch, haunted her at every turn. Even if the ending takes you away, let me be your reason to hesitate. She hadn't told him she would leave. She hadn't even told herself. But the more time she spent with him, the more she felt as though she were walking in someone else's dream, a dream that would end as soon as the final page turned. This world was not hers. She was the side character, the one who faded into the background when the main plot took its course. She was meant to be forgotten. But Kale was real. Kale is a prince. You are nothing but a doctor from another world. That thought clung to her like a heavy shroud, suffocating the bond she had been building with him. She could feel it, like something invisible was pulling her away, forcing her to do the one thing she never wanted to do, let go. At the palace gardens, the golden light filtered through the leaves, and Ira walked alone, her thoughts tangled. The sound of footsteps behind her made her pause, and before she could turn, a voice called her name. Ira. She froze. Kale. He was standing just a few feet away, his face unreadable. His eyes locked with hers, and for a moment, the world seemed to vanish. But then, she remembered herself. Prince Kale, she said, her voice distant. He tilted his head slightly, studying her. What's wrong? Nothing. She lied, her gaze dropping to the ground. I just need some time alone. Kale took a step forward, his voice soft but firm. You can't keep pushing me away, Ira. I'm not pushing you away, she responded quickly, but the words felt hollow. I don't belong here. This world is not mine, Kale. I can't let myself fall into it. You already have, Kale said, a slight edge in his voice. And I don't want you to pull away because of a world that's not yours. Ira swallowed, her throat tightening. I can't stay here. You can't. She struggled to find the words. You can't love someone who doesn't belong in this world. Someone who isn't even real. Kale's expression darkened, his jaw tightening. You think I don't know what's at stake? You think I don't understand that this is temporary? But that doesn't change how I feel. Her heart ached. I'm not asking for forever, he continued, his voice rough with emotion. I'm asking for now, for this moment. Let me love you while I can. She shook her head, tears threatening to spill. I can't do this. I can't love you, Kale. For a moment, they both stood there, silent. The wind rustled the leaves, but the air between them was thick with unspoken words. And then, Kale stepped forward, taking her hand gently in his. Don't say that, please. She looked up at him, meeting his eyes for the first time in what felt like ages. There was nothing but sincerity in his gaze, no pretense, no crown, no royal duties. Just him. I want to be with you, Ira. For as long as I can, he said, his voice unwavering. Don't push me away, not now. Ira's breath hitched. She wanted to pull away. She knew she should, but the pull of his words, of the warmth in his touch, was too much. And for the first time in days, she let herself lean into the moment. She let herself feel. Later that day, Ira sat alone in the quiet of her room. Her thoughts a tangled mess of uncertainty. She had no idea how much longer she could keep up this facade of control. The more she spent time with Kale, the more she realized that she had already crossed the point of no return. And yet, her hand went to the locket around her neck, the one she had found upon entering this world. It was the only piece of reality she had left, the only reminder that she was not meant to be here. The door opened, and a figure stepped inside. Serafina, Ira said, looking up with a forced smile. Serafina, as always, was radiant. But there was something different about the way she entered the room tonight. She was quiet, no usual sparkle in her eyes. I need to talk to you, Serafina said softly, taking a seat across from her. About Aaron. Ira blinked. What's going on? Serafina's lips pressed together. He's been acting strange. He's not focused, Ira. I don't know what's happened, but I can feel it. He's slipping away. Ira's heart skipped. Could it be because of me? I don't know how to help him, Serafina continued, her voice a mixture of concern and frustration. I feel like I'm losing him. Ira felt a pang of guilt. She had already made the decision to pull away from Kale to protect them both, but had she made the same decision for Aaron? She had to wonder if she was tearing apart more than just her own heart. Chapter 9. The Weight of Choices. The morning light was soft, the air cool against Ira's skin as she stepped out into the palace courtyard. The world felt muted today, her heart weighed down by 1,000 unsaid things. She couldn't stop thinking about the night before, Kale's words, his plea. Don't push me away, not now. But she had already decided. For both their sakes, she had to keep her distance. He's a prince. He belongs to this world. I don't. Ira walked briskly, trying to ignore the gnawing emptiness in her chest. Her thoughts were consumed by the memory of his touch, his voice, but she had to remain strong. She had to be the person who didn't belong here. The person who was going to leave. Her footsteps faltered as she turned a corner and came face to face with Aaron. He was standing by the fountain, his usual charming smile replaced with something more serious, more intense. His gaze softened as he saw her, but there was something unreadable in his eyes. Ira, he said softly, almost too quietly. Aaron, she replied, trying to muster some composure. What brings you here this morning? Aaron stepped closer, his expression unreadable. I've been thinking about something. She hesitated. What is it? There's something strange happening, Ira. I can feel it. This world, this story, it's changing. Ira froze. Her heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? I don't know how to explain it, Aaron said, his voice low, almost as if he were afraid someone might overhear. But something is off. The lines are blurring. I can't focus anymore. I don't know what's real. Ira's breath caught in her throat. Could he feel it too? It couldn't be possible, could it? Before she could respond, Aaron continued, a note of confusion and frustration in his voice. I've been watching you, Ira. And I can't ignore it anymore. The way you look at Kale, it's different. You are not the same, and neither is he. Ira's heart hammered in her chest. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She had been so careful to protect everyone by keeping her distance. But Aaron was noticing things. And if he noticed, maybe Kale would, too. Aaron took a step forward, his eyes searching hers. I don't know what's happening, but I know this, you're not just a character in this world. You are changing it. Ira swallowed hard, trying to hold back the panic threatening to break free. I'm not trying to change anything, she said quickly, her voice shaking slightly. I'm just trying to survive, Aaron finished for her, his voice cold but kind. I get it. You don't belong here. You've told me that before. Ira nodded, relief flooding her at his understanding. But I'm not the one you need to worry about, Aaron said, his gaze growing serious again. It's Kale. Her heart stuttered at his name. What do you mean? He's a prince, but he's different. He's acting like he can rewrite fate itself. And that's dangerous, Ira. He's not just your prince. He's a prince of this world, and if he starts making decisions outside of the script, everything could change. Ira's thoughts whirled. Was that what she had felt? The air around her, the world itself, shifting with every look, every touch between her and Kale? I don't want you to get hurt, Aaron said softly. And I don't want him to either. Ira stared at him, her mind reeling. What are you saying, Aaron? He took a deep breath, his eyes meeting hers with a quiet intensity. If you're not careful, Ira, Kale might break this story. And in doing so, he could break you. Later that day, Ira couldn't shake Aaron's words. She found herself at the edge of the palace, staring out over the lush, green hills that stretched beyond the walls. The world was as beautiful as ever, but it felt more fragile now, like it could crumble at any moment. Her hand tightened around the locket. She didn't belong here. She didn't. The sound of footsteps made her turn, and when she saw Kale standing there, her heart skipped. He looked at her with that gentle, knowing smile, the one that made her feel as though he could see through every wall she'd ever built. Ira, he said softly, taking a step toward her. We need to talk. I don't think there's much to talk about, she replied, her voice distant, though her heart felt like it was cracking under the weight of her own words. Kale's brow furrowed. What's going on? You've been avoiding me. I'm not avoiding you, Kale, she said quickly, though the words felt wrong. I can't do this. I can't let myself get too close. Kale stepped closer, his eyes searching hers. Why? Because I'm not supposed to be here, she whispered, voice trembling. I don't belong in your world. I don't belong in your life. Kale's expression softened, and for the first time, she saw the vulnerability in him. You think I don't know that? You think I don't understand that every moment I spend with you is a moment that could end when the story ends? Ira's chest tightened. Then why don't you let me go? Why can't you just let things go back to normal? Because I can't, Kale said quietly, his voice raw. I can't let you go when you're the only thing that's made me feel alive. Ira felt her heart shatter at his words, but she knew she had to be strong. For both of them. I'm sorry, Kale, she whispered. But this has to end. Before we both fall too deep. Chapter 10, A Choice to Make. Ira's heart pounded as she stood in the hallway outside the grand ballroom, the voices of the courtiers echoing faintly from within. The castle felt cold today, the silence between her and Kale heavier than ever. She had spent the entire night thinking about what to do, but now that the moment had arrived, she found herself unable to move. She had tried, in every possible way, to distance herself from him, to bury the feelings that had been growing stronger with each passing day. But Kale was different. He had always been different. His smile, his understanding gaze, the way he made her feel like she wasn't just a visitor in this world, but someone who truly belonged. But I don't belong here, Ira reminded herself. This isn't my world. And Kale, he's not mine. Despite her inner turmoil, she found herself walking toward the ballroom doors. She had to face him. She had to stop running. As she entered the room, she immediately saw him, standing by the grand windows, the soft moonlight casting shadows over his broad shoulders. Kale turned at the sound of her footsteps, his expression unreadable, but there was something in his eyes that made Ira's breath catch. Ira, he said, his voice steady, but there was a trace of something raw underneath. I knew you'd come. I had to, she replied softly, trying to keep her emotions in check. I'm sorry, Kale. I've been avoiding you, and You don't need to apologize, Kale interrupted, his gaze never leaving hers. I've known from the beginning that you were different, Ira. You don't belong here, but that doesn't change how I feel about you. Ira's heart stuttered at his words. She had always tried to deny it, to tell herself that their relationship was a fleeting thing, a product of the strange world she found herself in. But now, standing in front of Kale, she couldn't deny the connection they shared. I'm not supposed to feel this way, Ira whispered, her voice trembling. I'm supposed to be helping you. Helping you with Serafina and Aaron's love story. I don't care about that anymore, Kale said, stepping closer to her. His eyes were intense, almost desperate. Ira, I care about you. I've never felt this way before. Not about anyone. Her breath caught in her throat, and for a moment, she thought she might break down. This wasn't what she wanted. She couldn't let herself fall for him, not when she knew that her time here was limited. But no matter how hard she tried to push him away, Kale's presence felt like an anchor in this world, a world that was slowly falling apart. I don't belong in your world, Kale, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. And you don't belong in mine. He reached out, his hand gently brushing against hers. That's where you're wrong, Ira, he said softly. Maybe I don't belong in your world. But in this world, right now, you're the only thing that feels real. Ira's eyes filled with unshed tears. She had tried so hard to keep her distance, to keep herself from becoming part of a story that wasn't hers. But Kale was pulling her in, and despite everything, she found herself wanting to stay. You don't know what you are asking, Kale, she said, her voice breaking. If I stay, everything will change. The world will change. You'll change. I can't let you risk that. Kale's gaze softened, his thumb tracing her hand gently. I'm willing to risk everything for you, Ira. I'd rather break the story than lose you. Ira felt a shiver run through her, the weight of his words sinking deep into her heart. The consequences of their actions, the risk they were both taking, seemed so much more real now. If she chose Kale, it would mean giving up the world she had come to understand, the world that had no place for someone like her. But Kale was offering her something she had never expected, a choice. I can't promise it will be easy, Kale whispered, his forehead gently resting against hers. But I promise you won't have to face it alone. Ira closed her eyes, taking a shaky breath. She didn't know how much time they had left. She didn't know if the world they were in could survive this. But for the first time since she had arrived, Ira made a decision. I choose you, Kale, she whispered, her voice steady now. I choose us. For a moment, neither of them moved. And then, as if the world itself exhaled in relief, Kale's lips brushed gently against hers. The kiss was soft at first, hesitant, as though they were both afraid of what it meant. But as the moments passed, it deepened, the connection between them becoming undeniable. The world around them seemed to disappear, leaving only the two of them, caught in a moment that felt both timeless and fleeting. When they finally pulled away, Kale's eyes were dark with emotion. I'll never let you go, Ira, he promised, his voice raw. No matter what happens, I'll find a way to make it work. Ira nodded, her heart beating faster than she thought possible. The path ahead was uncertain, and she didn't know how this would end. But one thing was clear, she had made her choice, and with Kale, she was ready to face whatever came next. So, I hope you enjoy chapter 4 to 10. If this world has tugged at your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Velvet Story for the next chapter. Until then, keep dreaming, keep feeling, and remember, sometimes, the background characters are the ones who change everything. We'll see next time.